There is a new video of the methane leak in Porter Ranch, California, and it doesn't look so good, especially considering the fact that the leak started in October of 2015, and we're now well into January of 2016, and there's no end in sight. Now, SoCalGas, the company behind the leak, alleges that they will have this issue solved by late March. But this latest video shows you in infrared just how disastrous this leak is, and some in California, or at least in the area, believe that their pets are now being impacted as well. So let's take a quick look at the video, and you'll see what it, so there's a regular video, and then there, through that infrared vision, you can kind of see just how bad the leak is. Now, understand that Porter Ranch is a very affluent part of the San Fernando Valley. The people living there have money. All of them have been, or most of them have been evacuated to safe housing, so they're not inhaling the methane and getting sick as a result of that. It could cause nosebleeds and other health concerns. But pets are now experiencing similar issues. And so people are wondering whether or not there's going to be any type of compensation or any type of just payback for what's happening to them. They're being displaced. Their animals are getting sick. Their kids are getting sick. And so where's the accountability? What happens next? In Porter Ranch and nearby communities of Chatsworth and Granada Hills, animal owners are seeing unexplained ailments and behaviors in their pets. Many are questioning whether the methane and odorants escaping from the leak in nearby Aliso Canyon may be to blame.
I think that's a big duh.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is the SoCalGas company is telling people not to leave their pets outside. Hello?
I'm recently a pet owner. I adopted a dog about 2 months ago. I've never had a pet before in my life, and this dog was a rescue dog, and it actually really surprised me how many homeless pets that there are that have to be outside.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And even
all I'm saying is that it kind of is a catch-22. It's kind of impossible to go. Your pet cannot be outside when there's so many homeless pets on top of the pets that actually live or thrive and exist outside.
Right, and forget about the pets. I mean, don't forget about the pets, they're important, but also think about the natural wildlife that lives in that area that's being impacted by this, right? So this has so many ramifications, not only to human health, not only to our environment, but also animals living in this area, pets living in this area, and there needs to, in the very least, be enough compensation to ensure that these people can, pay for the places that they're living in now. Their property values are going down. There's so many different components of their lives that are being destroyed because of this company refusing to do its due diligence and making sure that there are safeguards in place to do something should a leak persist. And a leak has persisted, but they don't have a solution, which is why they're projecting that, hey, maybe in late March we'll be able to solve this. That's insane. This started in October.
Well, yeah, that's another issue with it. They're saying there's all these short-term effects, right? So they're talking about the nosebleeds and people, not going outside and things like that. And then the long-term effects, yeah, you're going to be exposed to benzene, which is, a carcinogen for humans, but that's long-term. And then that's not even tied, it's not even correlated with the fact that, okay, we're not going to be able to fix this for a few months. I don't understand why that's not being put together in the media, that people are being exposed to this, people and animals, like you were saying, wildlife. I mean, we don't know how that's going to affect the ecosystem. A lot of the Porter Ranch residents were saying that they were finding dead birds in their backyards. So there's a lot of different components here. And you're right, like there needs to be a way that these people are compensated, but also bigger picture, figuring out how this town is going to come back from this.
Right. I mean, we have an entire political party in this country who continuously boasts about how they're in favor of deregulating everything, whether it's the banks or massive corporations. And this is the product of deregulation. This is what happens when you don't ensure that there are laws put in place to protect the people. And the reason why so much deregulation is happening is not because the Republican Party is more powerful than the Democratic Party. It's because both parties have members that have been bought off by these corporations, that are funded by these corporations, and so they have a vested interest to continue to deregulate.
It's capitalism run amok.
Right.
I don't think that that argument that happens in the political conversations happens because they say it's more capitalistic to let people, let the market figure out what it wants to do. But when the market starts imposing their will onto other people, there does need to be a small amount of socialism that actually changes regulates what they're able to do to people who cannot defend themselves.
And also, for all the free market people out there who are like, yeah, deregulate and let the free market decide, what are the people of Porter Ranch, California supposed to do? SoCalGas is their gas provider. Right? And so you don't have a decision to make. You don't have a choice, right? You have to rely on this one company. This company knows it. And so if there's a monopoly like that, then they get to do whatever they want. There is no competition here whatsoever. Okay?
Absolutely.
And if there's no competition, they get to do whatever they want. And they're going to cut corners. They want to make money.